Come on. You crazy dog. You crazy dog. You're like a rabbit. A rabbit. You a rabbit. Snow's all melting today. Turn some lights on. Got to get my bench cleaned up again and finish this bike up. I haven't done anything in about 10 days again. Christmas is 7 days away. So the goal is tonight, get the carbs on, make sure they're all balanced up again, get the ignition all back on, and I'm going to drain the oil. I ran it, the bike probably ran for maybe a half an hour altogether. Took it for a couple little test drives and running it in here, so I'm gonna change that oil, just drop that oil right out of it. It's pretty black already, but that could be from a lot of the assembly lube, which is black. And put some fresh oil in it and fire it up. That's my goal for tonight. So let me get the bench cleaned up. Time to get this back together. I keep putting it off and putting it off. But get the carbs on first, but I want to make sure they're balanced again because I was screwing around with them. So, oh yeah, I still got this to tighten up too. Let me tighten up the top. Ice elastic. Oops. It's warmed up today. It's like plus 4 or 5, so everything's melting. It's real sloppy out there. I haven't been able to take the ratty old dog for a walk. Oh, that's fucked up there. Take that white dog for a walk in this weather and it comes home black. So I don't take him for a walk. Should I find a torque? my glasses. I was first introduced into motorcycles 1973, maybe 72. My brother bought a 1972 RD 350 Yamaha, the two-stroke, real fast bike for its time. And that's the first time I've ever really been around motorcycles. I was 12 years old, I guess. And then there's 3/8, 5, those are 3/8, so those are 25, no, let's see, yeah, 25 foot-pounds. Those are 3/8, so everybody's nuts. 5/16, yeah, those are 25. So he had that bike for, well, I had it was in Toronto, so 16. I think I was 16 or 17 years old and I was riding, no, I was older, a little bit older than that. Yeah, no, 16, 17 years old, I was riding that bike to high school. And one day, the bike was smoking like hell, just puffing blue smoke. And I thought maybe I'd damaged it. There's 25 there. So I took it to a Yamaha dealership there in Toronto. I think it was on Kennedy Avenue, down by the bluffs, right by the lake. And the mechanic in there said, oh, the crank seal's gone on it, and I got to rebuild the engine. And I thought, man, it was running so good, you know, yesterday and the day before, you know, and it still started up and ran, and I didn't know anything about mechanics back then. I didn't know anything. You know, I'd never worked on an engine or anything before, but I was always pretty handy. And so it's hard to talk and work and think at the same time what I got to do here. I want to make sure all these are tightened up here. And I got to turn that heat up a little bit too. There it goes, came on by itself. So, perfect, that's so good, eh? I think. Maybe not. So the guy said that RD needed a complete rebuild. There's the one, perfect. You know, pull the engine out. And put new crank seals in it, you know, and I think he said it was going to be like $300 or something like that, and that was in 77, 78, in that range. And that was a lot of money back then for me. I was working part-time. So I said to the guy, I said, man, it was working so good the other day, like how can I just go overnight like that? And he said, well, that's the deal, $300, take it or leave it. And I said, well, I can't afford that, so I took the bike home. Those bikes were oil injected into the fuel line. And so I started monkeying with it a little bit, and I think there's a side cover on the right hand side on that bike. and there's a cable that runs around the oil pump that injects the oil, and the cable had was too loose. It had come off and come off the little spool there, so it was running really rich. Oh, I'm just getting a text. I missed it there, but I think I'm waiting for that one. So I put the cable back on the spool, you know, adjusted it, fired the bike up, it ran fine, didn't smoke at all. So that was my first lesson in the real world. You know, that there's crooks out there. I need a wrench on that. Maybe not even crooks, maybe just people that don't know. I suspect that guy knew and was going to rip me off. But I learned a lesson there pretty quick that I could fix it myself for much cheaper, free, and that he was either wrong or lying to me. So that's when I started to take an interest in the mechanics at that point. And that was my first bike, my brother's bike. Okay, that's all tightened up. You know, it's been sitting for a while. I got to think, you know, make sure I got everything buttoned up here. You know, I got the valves and everything down. This is done. And I'm going to get the carbs on next. So feed this back up through here. I think that was like that. Okay, let me go check into this message here first. I gotta get back to. Okay, got one carb on. I rebalanced them and took some of the free play out of the cables here a little bit. I had a little bit too much free play and didn't want them getting hung up, so got that done. And every time I take these carbs off and on, you kind of refine how you get them in and out. The easiest way, you know, put that air box on first. You have to pretty much have your little intake manifold bolted to the carb, otherwise you'll never get the nuts on. And then there's a little notch on the rubber boot here, and that's so the two rubber boots can butt up against each other. So you want to line that up. I put this on the carb first. This is just how I find the easiest way to do it. I'm learning, because this is the hardest part to get together here. So then now I get the boot into here and let this end loose. Make sure I got this all up here. It's easy doing the other side because the carb's not in the way, so this one's going to be a little trickier, I know. Shouldn't be too bad. Get my glasses back on. Where'd my glasses go? So I can see what the hell I'm doing. Magnifiers. Kind of nice with the other carburetor because you can stick your finger in the hole in here and get that boot in. I think I got it there. There, that's in there. and then you can just slide the gasket in. Push this back and slide that in. Get that one started. What you doing, dog? Nice to have those threads nice and clean first, so you can spin those in there a little easier. And dogs, what are you doing, dog? Stay out of trouble. Yeah, you're looking for those wine bottle caps. That's, he likes chewing on them. The wine bottle corks. Okay, let me finish this. Finish tightening it up. Yep, lower you down. Just putting the oil lines on. Got the carbs on. I had to take the slides out because I had them underneath this crossbar, and they should sit on top in here, tucked out of the way. So that's what I did there. Got 2 washers here, I hope so. Yep. Someday I'll get some stainless steel oil lines. Functionality right now, just get everything running, get it running right. Kind of sits on a bit of an angle like that. Just check that. Dog wants outside, no way I'm letting him out. He's scratching at the door. This oil line on this side has a little rubber grommet here, and I found on I didn't buy it yet. I don't know if I will. It's so damn expensive. It's just a bent piece of wire that I believe goes onto here. Yeah, but I believe it probably goes under one of these nuts. Bent piece of wire with a loop in it that this hooks into. That's where that rubber grommet goes. So might be able to make one. So it goes about like that in between here. There's the balancer hose on the carbs. Put that back on for now. A good place to balance the carbs right there too. Okay. That's that. Here's the fuel lines again. Getting closer. I think I'll mount the ignition back on now. Everything should be buttoned up. Clamp here somewhere. Here it is. Nope, let's see. Yeah, tighten that up, the clamp. Okay, button up a few more things. Clean up these spark plugs for now. Didn't get a new set yet, so a little bit of a brass brush, a little bit of brake cleaner. These plugs got pretty oiled up with that those bad rings in there. My helper died. Little helper. Those will work. Work for now. Good boy. Oh, good boy. Thirsty? Or drink a beer? Got a little bit of beer left. Where'd your cup go? Taste of beer? There. I don't think you ever had beer before, did you? Okay, put the plugs in. Like that. Okay, just going to put the ignition system back on. Let me get that going. Drink. Oh, I know you want to go for a run, but can't take you. Can't take you, man. It's too muddy out there. Raining, muddy out. Everything's melting. Okay, let's put the ignition on. Got her back together. Got the coils back on, the ignition box. I made this plate here in one of my earlier videos if you didn't see them all. and got it wired into this old side cover for now. New side covers are up there. Gonna start on this tank maybe next week, sanding that down, but it's getting late out here tonight, so I'm gonna fire this bike up tomorrow, and I think she's ready to go. I undid the drain plug, and it's been sitting for it's December 18th, so this bike's been sitting for a couple months now, 2 months, and well, I fired up in September. Maybe I fired up again the 1st of October, I'm not sure. So this bike's been sitting for a good 2 months, 2.5 months, and it did sump a bit into the crankcases there, probably about 1.5 liters of oil. So I just drained all that out, pumped it over a few times. I took the plugs out again, kick it over, make sure it's cleaned out. And I'm not going to top it up until tomorrow. And I'll put the gas tank on, top up the oil. And I think that's it for firing her up. I think it's ready to be fired up again. And I just want to fire it up, you know, let it burn off the oil in it, and make sure it's not smoking anymore and it's running nice and even. No oil leaks. There shouldn't be any oil leaks this time. Got these fixed up. And then I can start working on, I'm going to make a list of all the little things that need to be done. I need to weld on the steering stops here, clean this up. Weld the center stand on the one side, put a little plate under that, repaint it. All the controls are bent. This is the way I got this bike, so try to straighten them up. And I've probably got to replace the one on the other side. I'll try to straighten them up first. I got some ideas about that. That's going to be tricky. And what else? Oh, polish this cover. Take that off and polish that all up. Okay, that's going to be it for tonight, and tomorrow we'll fire this bike up. It's supposed to be pretty warm out. If the roads are dry, maybe I'll take it for a little test drive.